What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to Talkin BS. I am your host, as always, Steven Zamora. If you can, please follow me on Twitter at ZamoraBSB. And today, coming at you with another off-season preview. And as you can probably guess by clicking on that thumbnail, we are talking about the Miami Heat today. Now, story time for some Heat fans out there that are watching this. I used to hate the Heat. Okay. I thought the whole Heat culture thing was like the biggest fraud in the world. I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. So, of course, we had our, Jokic run in with one of the Morris twins. I don't remember which one it was. And frankly, I don't care because they're both pricks. We're off to a great start here. But after last season, man, I am a believer in this team. I sat back and realized, like, I actually like Jimmy Butler a lot, So, he's their best player. I'm a very big Bam guy. I think Bam might be one of the best Jokic defenders in the entire league. I like a lot of the pieces that you guys have. I love the way that you develop these underrated prospects that a lot of other teams just don't value. Dare I say, I started buying into Heat culture a little bit. And once I seen that you guys were capable of knocking off teams that were much more talented than you in like Boston and stuff like that, I started, drinking the Kool-Aid a bit. Yes, I am a converted Heat culture guy. I do believe in Heat culture now. We got some big decisions to make in this offseason. Jimmy Butler is coming up on the end of his contract, and he is getting older. He was unavailable for the playoffs this past year. You're missing Tyler Hero for the playoffs in the past 2 years in critical games. So, I think some change is necessary, but we're going to get to that. So basically, if you're new here, I'm going to be covering all 30 teams, hopefully before the draft. And in every offseason preview, I cover the weaknesses that the team needs to improve on, the tools that they have at their disposal to get better, the must-dos that they need to address before going any further into their build. Then I address the 3 different avenues to which every team has in their arsenal to get better. That is through the draft, that is through some trades, and that is through free agency. And then at the end, I will be giving you guys a nice 10-man rotation that hopefully you guys could be excited about heading into the new season. So with that said, let's get into it. Let's cover the Miami Heat. There are some big weaknesses that Miami has to get to. Pat Riley and the boys up in the front office have to get to before we go any further. They were 27th in the league in points per game, 23rd in fast break points per game, 27th in points in the paint, 26th in rebounding, 26th in 2-point percentage, 23rd in shooting percentage, 28th in field goals made and field goals attempted per game, 26th in opponent 3-point attempts per game, and 30th in blocks per game. So a lot of shooting woes, a lot of shooting deficiencies for Miami there. And we all knew this, right? Miami's a very good defense, and they just kind of struggled on offense and, had troubles keeping up on the offensive end. So that's what we're going to mostly try to address in this offseason preview. So to address those needs, we're going to have some tools to get better, right? So let's look at the different ways that Miami has to improve this year. They have the 15th overall pick in the NBA draft, the 43rd overall pick in the second round, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson's contracts available for trade, allowed to aggregate money before free agency on June 30th, but it will trigger the second April rules, up to 5 future first-round picks. The 25-26 are owed to OKC, and the 27-28 are owed to Charlotte. And now we're going to look at some things that we need to address as a front office before we can keep this team together next season. So we need to figure out the future of Jimmy. We need to get the finances in order. Figure out, are we running it back or are we going through major changes? Finding a capable offense to match the defense, and don't draw outside the lines. So let's start with the first one. We got to figure out Jimmy, right? We got to figure out what's going to happen with him. So I'll get to it later, but he does have a player option coming up in the at the end of next season. We're going to see what we could do about that. Bam Adebayo is also up for extension. We have to figure out if we're going to be running it back or if we're blowing this thing up. Me personally, I think you owe it to Jimmy and Bam to run this thing back and just try to improve on the fringes. I do have a major trade in the works that I think will shake things up and make this team a lot better. With that said, we do not want to draw outside the lines. And what I mean by that is we want to stick to that Heat culture. We want to bring in guys who I know will fit the culture in Miami and, always stick to our guns, stick to the culture that Pat Riley built. So speaking of the trade I was just mentioning, let's get to it. So Miami will receive DeJounte Murray and Larry Nance Jr. New Orleans will receive Tyler Hero, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nikola Jovic, and the 15th overall pick in the 24 draft. And Atlanta will receive Brandon Ingram and Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin would have to opt into his $7.1 million contract. So first, let's address the other teams here. New Orleans has a huge creation problem. They don't have a lot of guards who can create for them. So in this exchange, they're losing Brandon Ingram, but they are getting back Tyler Hero and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who are both very capable creators and scorers. They're losing Brandon Ingram, unfortunately, because it looks like he's probably going to find another team after next year. So they are getting a return on him while they have him. And, Hero's like 24 years old. You get Jovic, who I think is like 21, 22. And then you get the 15th overall pick in the draft. Not a bad haul for a guy who's planning on leaving anyway. Atlanta, you get Brandon Ingram, Caleb Martin. Now, Atlanta's biggest issue is they need some scoring from the wing. Brandon Ingram, big help there. You also get Caleb Martin because Atlanta is a very bad defense, and Caleb Martin is a more than capable defender, especially on the wing, and he's a good shooter. So some more spacing. Now for Miami, you guys get a bona fide star in DeJounte Murray at point guard, who's really going to help set the table, and I believe 100% fits into the Heat culture model. You also get Larry Nance Jr., who I don't know if there's a better Heat culture guy out there, man. This guy does all the dirty work. He'll rebound for you. He can hit his spot up shots. He does all the dirty work. He's gonna set screens. He is everything that Heat culture is all about. I think he would just excel on this team. I think he would just be outstanding here. So I think you pick up two guys who are just perfect fits for this culture, and they fit a need that you have at two positions that are wide open right now for Miami. And so we don't have a draft pick anymore. So with that said, we're going to move on to free agency, and we're going to look at your cap situation. Per hothoops.com, shout out Hot Hoops, Adebayo will be eligible for a 3-year, $165 million extension that would not kick in until the 26-27 season, while Butler is eligible for a 2-year, $112.9 million extension if he wanted to automatically decline his $52.4 million player option in 25-26. The latter would not be able to extend beyond 4 years due to the over 38 rule. Thus, there's a world where he doesn't sign one this offseason and pushes it to the next to get 3 brand new years. So in this instance, I'm just going to wait, right? Personally, if I'm running the team, right, I'm putting myself in Pat Riley's shoes. I'm telling Jimmy, let's play out the year. Let's see how you do. You got DeJounte now. You got Bam. We're going to try to bring in some spacing, and we're going to try to bring in some defenders that will help this team out. And we'll see how far this team gets. That's why I just feel like you've just got to let the contract play out. So then we're going to look at free agency since we understand the cap now. At this point, we are committed to $180.26 million in salaries on this team, leaving us above the first apron. If Rozier is dealt, it could free up space, but he is a valuable backup and his scoring is going to be needed. With that said, we will only be dealing with the TPMLE. That's a $5.2 million exception for free agents. So some names I want to go over first. Haywood Highsmith, Gordon Hayward, Royce O'Neal, Jayshawn Tate. So we do have some holes in the wing and forward position. Haywood Highsmith we could bring back. I personally think he did a pretty good job for you guys last year. He checks a lot of the boxes that the Heat need. Gordon Hayward is another option there that I really like. I think he would be wise to come to Miami. One more chance at a title, because I think now that you have these guys all around, right? I think you got DeJounte, you got Jimmy, and you got Bam. You got a pretty good core there, and he can bring a lot of stuff to the table that this team needs. Royce O'Neal, more of a 3-and-D guy, spot-up shooter, can handle some of the bigger wings. And Jayshawn Tate is a young guy who fell out of the rotation in Houston, but I think he would be absolutely phenomenal with Miami. Then we're going to look at Doug McDermott, Daniel House, Robert Covington, Reggie Bullock, Nicholas Batum, Jeff Green, Jay Crowder. So this little group here, this little subsection is more of like just veteran guys who you can bring in for really cheap and who are just like, you know what? I want to go to Miami and play for a year or two at the end of my career and see if I can win a title with these guys. I know Jeff Green already has a house in Miami. I'm sure some of these guys already do have houses in South Florida. So plus they can all still bring stuff to the table, right? They're all pretty good shooters. They're all filling the forward spot that we're looking for. Then we got Trendon Watford, Jamal Cain, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and Lamar Stevens. So these guys are more of like your fours that are going to be on the youthful side, right? Trendon Watford is a very underrated player. Half of even like hardcore basketball fans don't even know who this kid is. He played really well for Brooklyn last year. He shot nearly 40% from three, 6'9". He's good. Like he's a really good player. I think you would be wise to offer him a contract, and he could be one of those guys that next year everybody's like, oh man, he culture. Like these guys, they went and found him another one. Same. We just saw it with Jamal Cain, right? He played really well for you guys last year. Robinson Earl, he's been cut a couple times. He's made his way back onto a few teams, but he's a big forward. He can provide you a little bit on offense. He plays both sides of the ball pretty well. And then Lamar Stevens he's an athlete, and he needs some more refining. He needs some good coaching. You got the best coach in the NBA, in my opinion. That could work really well. So for me, I'm doing what I can to bring back Highsmith. I'm probably going to use that TPM Ali on Highsmith, give him a little bit of a raise, bring him back because I was impressed with him last year. And then I'm going to use my minimum to sign Trendon Watford. I think, like I said, I think he would be a perfect fit here. And he does a little bit of everything that you guys need from that 4 spot. And he's got the size to do it. And now we got a 10-man rotation. So let's take a look. DeJounte Murray and Terry Rozier at the point. Jaime Jaquez and Josh Richardson at the 2. Jimmy Butler and Haywood Highsmith at the 3. Larry Nance Jr., Trendon Watford at the 4. And Bam Adebayo and Kevin Love at the 5. So I just love the fit of DeJounte Murray next to Jimmy and next to Bam. I know I've said that a bunch of times already, but I really do love that fit. I think DeJounte would eat in this system. He fixes a lot of the stuff that you guys need. He's a legit playmaker. He's going to play his minutes in the playoffs. He is not going to be a liability because he is a capable two-way guy. He's going to chip in another 20-something points off the bench. So he's bringing you all the offensive prowess that you lost with Tyler Hero. Plus, he's a very good defender when he wants to be. And Jaime gets a start. So that's a plus. You bring Larry Nance Jr. in. I think he's a really good fit here. You need some more size in that front line because we've seen Miami. They're a little too small for some teams. So you bring in some size with Larry Nance Jr., who's a capable 4-5. Now you got Kevin Love, Trendon Watford, and Bam Adebayo there as well. And you guys got enough size to handle most bigger lineups in the NBA. Now, one thing I could see people being critical of is there is a bit of a lack of spacing with this roster. Rozier is a great spacer. DeJounte Murray can hit his threes. Jimmy's capable. Jaime is going to have to take a big step. He was 32% last year, but in the last 10 games of the season, he was over 40. So I think he's more than capable of hitting his shots. Larry can hit his shots. And like I said, Watford was 39%. Granted, it was low volume, but he can hit his shots. Kevin Love is a decent shooter. So I think there's enough shooting. But now you add some size and you get a little bit of youth. And I think this sets you up for the future. And it's not like Miami's like this huge, they're not like Boston where they live and die by the 3. A lot of their game is getting into the paint and making your life hell that way. Now you have all the able bodies to do it. I think this is your quintessential Miami Heat team right here. And this is a team with a ton of heart, and they can upset some people. They really can. Now, do I think this is going to be a great regular season team? No. But that's because Jimmy Butler is your star, and he doesn't take the regular season seriously. Miami, you're like your best player, man. Jimmy's a playoff riser. That's what he cares about, is playing in the playoffs. So that's what's going to happen. I believe in this team. I think this team could really do some damage. I'm not sure you're going to end up being a top 4 seed in the East or anything with this roster, but I definitely think you can end up in the finals again. I really do think this is a finals capable team. So at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? We're here to win titles. We're here to win. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed my best Pat Riley impersonation here. But if you did like this, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It'll help me a ton. To my subscribers that I have now, I appreciate you guys so much. Y'all are awesome. And with that said, love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Talking BS, we out.